Hi, this is Thad Wittenberg with KABS and Kitchen and Bath Global Partners. Welcome to our first episode of KABS Tech Talk. Today we're going to be focused on how to streamline dealers' businesses when it comes to technology and all the talk about town. We have two people joining us today. We have Lindsay Seddon from Seddon Design, who actually has become one of the new 30 under 30 from the NKBA. So we're excited to have her here today. And we also have AJ Ballantyne here today, and he's from Render. He has some exciting things to share as far as the measuring app that they've developed, which is really cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Lindsay, have her introduce herself, and then we'll hop right into it. So Lindsay, the floor is yours.
Yes, I'm Lindsay. I own Seddon Design Co. I am a full service interior design studio. So I do from new builds to remodels and everything in between. I do a lot of consulting work with architects and builders as well.
Great, it's awesome. She's running a fantastic business up there, and so congratulations to her for stepping out and starting her own business. So, and AJ, if you could go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, like your deepest, darkest secrets, we can start there.
I won't quite start there, but
No, they're
thanks.
scary enough. I know. Go ahead.
So I am my name is AJ, and I am the founder and CEO of Render, which is a sales acceleration platform focused on providing remote engagement solutions for the home improvement industry. But before that, I'm actually a lifetime contractor. So I started my own home improvement design build company back in 2011. And since then, I've been running that and growing that up to $8 to $10 million in revenue. Really strong team right outside of the Baltimore, D.C. metro area. So I actually do still have that company. So running both has been a fun endeavor, and just really committed. We've always been committed to technology and having that help us grow our business better, and now offering that same technology that's helped us to other remodelers, design, build, kitchen and bath places as well, to help them
Yeah.
grow.
It's really cool when you see new technology come out from someone who's actually been in the business before, like Render. I mean, understanding how the whole construction process works from start to finish. You're really capturing like the essence of what those people are doing out there, and so you know how they're going to apply it. And I got to tell you, if you haven't checked it out yet, it's something you should. They've got it where you can drop down into files and go right into like 2020 design. So anyway, it's great to have you here
Thank you.
today, and thanks so much. I think one of the questions on a lot of kitchen and bath dealers' minds, or a lot of people, builders, contractors, remodelers, is what is 2024 shaping up to do? There are a lot of things that are in play, obviously interest rates, and you're hearing a lot on the news. So I'm just, Lindsay, what do you think? Like, how are you seeing 2024 coming up?
I mean, over here in New England, I haven't seen much of a slowdown. I'm still getting a lot of new builds and a lot of clients ready to remodel. A lot of clients are staying put and not buying and taking out equity loans on their homes and putting in those large additions and making it, the dream home that they've always wanted instead of moving. So I haven't seen much of a dip yet. Hopefully we don't. It's still pretty strong over here for us.
That's great to hear, and I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of dealers all across the country, and certainly some of it is based on the areas that they're in. Down south, Florida, Tennessee, Texas. These areas are strong, but there's a lot of other areas that still have a good amount of business, and it's interesting to talk to a number of dealers in the same area. Some are struggling, some are doing very well. And obviously, as we all know, that just really comes down to the business model, the leadership, and how well they're adapting to things, and certainly the customer experience. So, AJ, what are you thinking 2024 is going to look like?
I think what a lot of design build companies, kitchen and bath places are seeing right now is just a really like a constricting market. So going into 2024, I think what we're expecting is a little bit more of the same. I think there are a lot of economic studies out there that show that remodeling growth is stalling, but it's not declining. So there are still plenty of people out there that need to remodel their homes. I think more than 80% of all mortgages held by U.S. banks are sub 5%, which means that there are a lot of people that are not willing to move and take that higher mortgage interest rate. So they're going to be staying put, they're going to be remodeling their homes. And I think what we're anticipating the most is that businesses that are positioning themselves to sell well to the buyer who is going to need to renovate the home, whether to add on or to make the home a little more livable, are going to be the ones that come out ahead of the rest of the game. And when you figure out which generation is going to be remodeling their homes to add more, I mean, you start looking at demographics. The younger, the millennials that are now coming on scene in full force buying these homes, they're a perfect age to be renovating those homes. Their kids are getting older, they're becoming teenagers, they need more space. And if they're not willing to move to find that bigger house, they're going to want to put more space into that home or make that space more livable. And I think we're seeing that trend coming on very quickly, is that our buyers are actually getting younger. We were used to selling to boomers and Gen Xers. We still are tremendously. There's a lot of purchasing power through those two generations, but I think what we're trying to accomplish at Cornerstone, my design build company, is to be geared up to sell really well to the millennial generation. That I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that over the next couple of years.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of activity on that front. Finally, a lot of these 30 and 40-year-olds will be moving out from their parents, and whether they want to or not voluntarily, but no, there's a lot of money out there. The housing and affordability is a little bit of an issue, but eventually it's gonna right itself. I see 2024 as probably a little bit slower than 23. I still think certainly with the age of homes and the remodeling, we just came off one of the biggest binges we've ever seen right after COVID, and now what it did is it pulled demand forward, right? Like stuff that would have been done now or the next year was all done over the last 2 years. But I agree with both of you. It's out there. The business is there. It's not going to be a recession or a collapse or anything like that. I think people really need to start taking a step back. And these are always good times to evaluate your business and find out, okay, how can we get better? It's really hard to do when you're just trying to keep all the balls in the air at one time and you're just struggling to get by. And that's really, this is why we're having this tech talk, is because, our industry obviously is known to be very antiquated, and that's like being generous, I think. But now the whole thing is going to be about productivity, efficiency, streamlining stuff. It's not only for the business model itself, but it's really something that's going to affect the customer's experience. So, Lindsay, we'll start off with you. How do you see technology, from where we are right now, evolving over the next 3 years? And like, what areas do you see it having an impact where it's going to possibly, like I said, streamline the processes and make them a lot more efficient from where they are right now?
I mean, I'm young, but I'm also old school with how I do stuff. So I am still paper and file, and I just started to kind of switch over within the last year of using more technology. So I've used Render, I've used an app called Canvas that helps me with streamlining how quickly I can do my measurements and getting layouts out to people. But definitely programs where I can communicate with my clients and have more of a client portal so they can kind of jump in there, see what's going on in their job, where things are status wise. Clients definitely like to know what's going on. So the more they can be updated, the more they feel like they're a part of it, definitely helps streamline and keep everyone very happy and content. I see technology is just getting better. It can be our enemy at the same time. I have clients who go online and they're like, oh, I took a picture and put it into this program and it made me exactly what I wanted. But that program doesn't understand the measurements and everything behind it. So it can be our friend, but it can also be our enemy right now. So it's kind of an in-between.
Yeah, it certainly has some challenges from a consumer standpoint and some of the things that they're looking at. But that being said, that stuff is going to remain out there, and I think that really comes back to what we're saying, like, okay, Here's how customers are out shopping. This is their behaviors. COVID drove people 5 years ahead on how much they do as far as online is concerned. And even I tell people, if you're getting referrals, don't think those customers aren't going out to your website first and finding out about your company. And I've seen some of these websites that I literally built 20 years ago that are still out there. And I'm like, that is going to be a true reflection of your brand when customers are looking at that. And you're going to need to bring technology to all aspects of your business. Yeah. And it's moving faster than it ever has. And, being old school, Lindsay, in some ways is good in how you handle things. And I applaud you for being open to technology and how you can include that in your business, because it's just going to be part of the way we do things. So how about you, AJ? How do you see technology having an impact on, streamlining the business, what it's going to do? One thing just before you get started, which is really cool about Render, is that you can send the app to a customer, a link to it, to take the pictures, and then the designs come back, and that's the only place that they go, instead of always having to go out there and do it yourself, which I think is awesome the way you set that up. But I'm sorry,
Thank
please.
you. Yeah, to elaborate on that, we discovered in 2020 when we couldn't get into customers' homes, a way to actually get measurements back from those homeowners, and turning that into harnessing the available technology in most mobile phones is a way that we're able to actually send an invite link to a homeowner, and they get that and they actually scan the space on their own, and it generates a floor plan, elevations, 3D model, and sends that back to my office, because I have a dream of one day having my design staff and my salespeople at Cornerstone. They have a fantastic closing rate of cold leads that come in the door. 40% will win, but there's 60% that we don't win. The 60% that we spend on those cold leads that end up going nowhere is valuable time that we could actually be spending on the customers that actually do want to use us and our work. So for us, harnessing different technologies, we have a pretty robust tech stack at Cornerstone, and it's always been a priority of mine. It helps us become more efficient, helps us in more ways than just one. It's not just taking a rudimentary process or a manual process, paper and pencil, and doing it digitally. It gives us the ability to be more efficient with our time, focus on, if we do turn up the dial on leads and we get more marketing leads that come in, we have more time to actually tackle those. And if we can pre-qualify those leads even better than before, that means we're not only turning up the dial on the leads that we're getting in, but we're also sifting through them faster and spending more time capturing the leads that have a higher propensity to buy from a company exactly like mine. And trickling that down to the effects that the customer feels, obviously, if we're spending more time on the leads that are very serious, they're going to feel much more warm and fuzzy about us, obviously a better impression that we're leaving with them. For our speed to the estimate, there's plenty of studies out there that show that, I believe the number was staggering. It was over 60% of all the bids awarded to contractors end up going to the contractor that got the bid to the homeowner first. So there's a huge emphasis that homeowners, I think, apply to businesses for speed of estimate. I mean, we've all been asked, like, hey, when's my estimate coming? So there's that. There's the I think what we're seeing is a shift, again, demographically, generationally, with buyers that want to be more educated and much more comfortable with their purchase. And the better we can educate the consumer, especially when it comes to budget, the faster we can do that. And if we can do that remotely, virtually, I mean, there's no more comfortable and streamlined education that we can offer that customer than that exact process.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head of, there's so many things that are involved in the process that are manual or slow, and it's not the fun stuff, right? It's I'd rather be meeting with customers. I'd rather be doing design, doing selections out there, and then automate all those things that are available and will continue. I think we all know, I mean, AI is going to be coming. It's not only going to have an impact on design, it'll have an impact on how you run your business, and it'll start doing an analysis of what you do. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're very worried about it, but it's coming. And so being worried about it probably isn't going to help anybody. You just have to take a step back and say, how can I use this? How can it make our business better? How can it make the customer's experience better?
Yeah, and if I could speak to that, AI is, it can be a scary word for some people, but AI is a tool, it's a utility that it's not coming, it's here, it's available. It's really just changing, I think, a lot of the way that we perceive, things that we got very used to doing, even digitally, but manually, writing emails, writing responses to emails, and using that to kind of look cross-platform to it, other things that, we just have to spend more time doing now that utilizing AI for some of those things helps us be more efficient. Again, look at it as a tool. Have it write a job description instead of spending an hour doing that. It can be a powerful tool for your company.
I've used it.
I've definitely used it, especially with tricky emails and things that you don't have the time to sit there for 2 or 3 hours and really draft out what you need. I mean, it's very easy to go in there and kind of bounce right off of it, and it puts it together cohesively for you and helps you get that out the door quicker.
Yeah, let the AI do the wordsmithing for you when you're trying to figure out a way to tell a client that they owe you a lot of money.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Lindsay?
You're coming off correctly.
Exactly. I mean, I use it, like when it first came out, I was like, oh, let's see what it does. And then I just got hooked on it. I was like, okay, I had a question, here's where I go. It can be about anything, just like even with cabs and asking, like, is this going to be available out there? And like the answer pops up, and I'm like, this is so much, saving so much time. And one of the things that you did mention was your tech stack. And if not everybody understands that, it's like the different integrated stack technologies that you have. And what I see with a lot of dealers out there is, no kidding, they'll have 4 different types of technology, softwares that they're using now. Well, this one does this, this does this, this does this, and none of them are integrated. Like, they don't speak to each other. And I was like, now you're getting back into the duplication of work, which is really what you're trying to avoid when you bring technology into the scene. So, I really hope that there's a lot of dealers. This is going to lead into the next question. Lindsay, we'll start with you again. So as we know, there's a lot of dealers out there, like estimated 35,000, who knows the exact number. We're seeing a lot of consolidation that's taking place right now, and the type of competition is continuing to change. There's a lot of online options for consumers out there, but I still see dealers that are just holding on to old ways of doing things. And I see the dealers like Lindsay that are in the other camp that are embracing technology. And what do you think the impact, Lindsay, of those two dynamics happening at the same time? Like, one's going down, the path less taken by dealers, and the other ones are just going down the same path that they've always been. So, what do you think is gonna, what are some of the things that you see happening?
And I think it's just going to depend on generations too. I see like older generations still staying with those old school dealers and stuff like that. People who haven't embraced that technology and still like that complete one-on-one hand-holding experience. Then you have people, like me. I'm in between. I still do a lot of face-to-face, but I also use the technology and embrace that. So I think you're still going to have the in-betweens, but I think people kind of have to embrace this technology to stay relevant in this industry. And if you don't, you're going to get lost in the mix. But there's room for everybody. You just really have to kind of make your mark and market to the correct people.
Right. I thought you brought up a great relevant, right? And you see so many studies out there when you talk about getting quotes back quickly to people, right? Like, we become a society. Like, I literally ordered a book Sunday morning at 10, and they're like, oh, it'll be there by 5. And I'm like,
the instant gratification.
Yes.
Of getting it.
Yeah, and I was like, there's no way on a Sunday I'm ordering a book at 10 in the morning, got here at 5. This is Amazon, and about 4:30, I was like, I told you. 10 minutes later, that car pulled up, dropped that book off. And so when you continue to have those type of experiences, it changes your expectations. Like everything should be faster. And when you see clients, I'm sure both of you guys experience this a lot, and they're like, okay, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll get back with you. And they're like, what? Like we have to wait that long? And you're right. The people who can get back to them quicker are the ones that are really going to be on their radar as top choices that are out there. So AJ, what do you think? Like, you're working with a lot of different companies out there that are using your technology, and then others that aren't. So they're going at two paths. And so, what are your thoughts about what's going to happen down the line?
Obviously, there's a huge commitment that's required by business owners to change the way that they do their business whether they're adopting technology in some aspect of their company for the first time. It's been a very, for us, we're replacing graph paper and pencils and a tape measure, which are, I mean, decades and decades of just use by contractors. I mean, there's still a place for that. We're not replacing that, but we're changing a mindset. We're changing the frame of mind that says, I have to go to my customer's home. I have to measure with a tape measure. I have to be within 1/8 of an inch on that first measure or else. So we're changing that mindset. We're saying, well, do you really need that? Or would you rather have the homeowner supply you an accurate enough floor plan that you can have the budget conversation sooner so that you're only ever going out to the house to measure after they've given you the yes?
Right.
And as soon as a business owner can see it framed that way for their own business, they start to question, okay, what is it about my business that is so stuck in this old way of thinking that I can disrupt? And for us, it was about creating a technology that was, you nailed it. Like every company in this industry, it's so fragmented. You can look at two identical companies that serve the same people in the same area that are doing the same revenue, but they are completely different companies, right? You have companies that their average job size is 200,000, and over here, the same company doing the same revenue in the same demographic area, their average job size is 40,000. So they are doing 5 times the amount of projects that this company is doing over here. They prioritize things differently, and because of that, they have different technologies that they will work with. Whether they use the one-size-fits-all, project management solutions that offer everything from leads to estimates, or you have these companies that just want everything to be plug and play with each other that play really nice together. Our commitment was to design something that is so easy to use, so simple to use, it can be plugged into anything that a contractor uses across the spectrum. There's so many workflow extensions that we're working on that can help contractors speed up their time to deliver that first estimate, and even on forward from that. But from the moment you find out about a lead to the minute that estimate goes out the door, let's be honest, the budget conversation, or when the homeowner sees the estimate, that's when the talk gets real.
Right.
And so if we can speed that process up, which is 2-3 weeks for most contractors, you might have 6 to 8 hours or so invested in the job at that point. Can I do that in 15 minutes? That's what we asked ourselves. Can we do that in 15 minutes? And we found out, as long as we're using technology platforms that can help us track the lead and do the estimate with templates and formulas, then all the pieces that are missing is, can I get the measurements back? Can I get it into my design software faster? And Render, for us, creating this tool was to do exactly that and fill in that missing piece.
Right. Yeah, and when you are talking about like the technology side for the dealer, a lot of time I'll hear feedback that says, "Hey, you know what? All the dealers have to trust us. We have to have face to face. It's never going to change that way." And I don't disagree with that. Like people ask me all the time, is bricks and mortar going to be around? It's like, absolutely. People buy from people. It may not be to the same magnitude of these huge showrooms, but people still want, this is an incredibly big project for somebody. No one wakes up in the morning and says, hey, let's go get our kitchen remodeled today. It's something they've been thinking about. It's very intimate when you're in the home. I'm not telling you guys anything. It's an emotional thing. And when it comes to emotional, right, and the trust, that's a face-to-face conversation, but it can start online. And, I try to tell people, if you want trust, then when you're using technology, you say, hey, I can get this done by Friday, right? Instead of having to wait 3 weeks, and you can get it there and deliver. And it also, when you talk about margin erosion and mistakes out there, customers are experiencing those because you don't have the technology, right? So you talk about trust that we're going to deliver. It's a lot easier to deliver what you say you're going to deliver when it's not manual processes, when you're taking care of something through technology. And then the other thing I'll mention is productivity, which everybody is aware of. It's like $150,000 gross margin per person. Let's just say for dealers, and now you're starting to bring technology in, right? And it is raising the productivity. And so let's say that you get it up to 225,000 for whatever it is. Now you're able to pay designers more. The profitability of the dealers are, can be 10% plus instead of 2 to 3%. Things that they can invest back into their company and benefits and attract the right talent. I think some people see when I talk about the path of these things diverting from each other, and like they're going to stay close to each other. Well, it may be like that in the very beginning, but quickly it's going to evolve into a wide gap of the people who have embraced the technology over here and the ones that don't. And these are the ones that will probably be losing a lot of market share and just struggling. Nobody wishes that on somebody, but that's where people need to open up and really say, hey, you know what? We want to try to do business better for not only ourselves, not only our people, but also for our customers.
I think there's a negative stigma around some, the business world, corporate America, where businesses are constantly on the prowl for how can I get one person to do the job of two people, and certainly there's a workplace profile where we need to discuss the ethics that are around that. But ultimately, what business owners like myself, I'm very committed to my staff. So if I can increase my margins enough to where one person can now do the job of two people, but they don't have to work more. That's the key. They're not having to work 80 hours a week. They're able to double their output so that when the economic climate is what it is now, or perhaps it gets worse, I now can, instead of having to look at laying off portions of my staff, half of my staff, just because I'm taking in less revenue, I don't have to let staff go. It's more about, can one person, again, if I turn that dial up on my marketing end to get more leads, I'm asking that person to work a heck of a lot more, but now I don't have to hire somebody in addition to that person. So when a recession kind of settles in, or we have stagnation in the market, my people are still extremely busy because I have control over that one dial, and they can do the rest just because I've made them more efficient with the technology that we've adopted throughout the company.
Yeah, it's an excellent point too, and it's not only that. Like, I understand what you're saying. There's certainly going to be, when you're working somewhere, when you have productivity gains, it doesn't mean you've got to go out and hire people, which is always a challenge. Oh, we want to grow 20%, which means we have to hire people. You bring in better technology, and those people that you have that you really like, you're going to be able to pay them more, and they're going to work less.
I think there's a big desire, I think, from a lot of business owners that they want to grow their company, but it's a huge commitment to want to do that. I want to open up another location. Well, I have to staff that location with 6 or 8 people. Well, what if you only had to staff it with 3 or 4 people? It's more of it helps. Technology can help business owners kind of get to that next step, obtain that next step in growth in their company without the huge people commitment that that weighs heavy, I think, on a lot of business owners' hearts. Like, I can commit to this right now. I can commit to hiring 3 or 4 more people right now. But what if something changed in 6 months?
Right.
These are people with families and jobs, and homes. I need to commit to them, and if I can commit to that with a longer runway, then that's obviously the smarter move for a business owner.
Right. Yep. I certainly.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lindsay, please.
I come from like a different perspective, so I'm a one-man band. I do everything on my own. I did have a one hire that I had for a little while, and it just, it's hard to find reliable, good people, so it didn't work out long term. But that's why technology for me is huge, because I am only one person, so I can only get so much out within a day. So having automated systems that I can go in there, I can press onto my app that I just met with this client. It sends them an email with the next steps and next things that I need from them. Like that helps me greatly. And if I didn't have those automations in place, I wouldn't be able to grow at the pace that I am. And then on the other hand, when I do have the ability to bring someone on, having all of that set up already to bring them right in and have that technology in place is huge too. You don't want to be on the back end hiring people, coming up with processes and systems.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And we had this conversation. You're like, I want to have something in place before I bring somebody else on. And it's a question that's coming up when people are being hired. Like, well, what are you using technology wise? Like, what's your
Mm-hmm.
system? And their expectations are changing, especially some of the younger ones that are coming up through our industry, right? And they're like, it sounds like everything's manual here. And I think the attraction to the company, like, direction like where Lindsay's going is going to be, wow, there is organization, there's technology here, and that's how this business runs, and it makes it very attractive for them. And like I said, as you grow productivity, you can offer more pay, more benefits without having to work 60 hours a week. I mean, that's one of the things we wanted to put in place because of cabs. I was like, I was just tired of seeing so many people work so much for so little at the end of the day. And so it's nice to, I think, like all of us, right? How do we help these companies be able to get a little bit more, profitable, all things efficient, streamlined? I know I'm beating the dead horse, but it's like one of the biggest issues that we have in our industry right now. So we're
I mean, if
gonna,
you can streamline, it's your best friend. But it's hard to find all the technologies right now that mesh well together or talk to each other. That's the biggest thing I find in my industry.
yeah, and the good news is that no one in technology has focused much time on kitchen and bath. Like when we looked at the technology that was out there for kitchen and bath dealers, very limited. I mean, very, very limited. Or even what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing, and coming from your perspective, I've been in kitchen and bath business, let's just say a long time, over 30 years for sure. And you being into business, developing technology from that side, because I've seen technologies come out. And I just have to say this: when you're taking a technology, you say this is the one we're going to embrace. It has nothing to do with our industry at all. The development of that technology is not going down towards the path of our industry, right? It's going to go down so that it's available to all these different industries, but it's not going to do the things that you're going to need specifically in what you do as far as your processes are concerned. So, well, I'd like to kind of wrap it up a little bit, but I think, the last question that I would like to pose to you guys is, and you brought it up earlier, how do how do you get out of this mindset? I see people come out of, like, it's any kind of training, right? Like I did one on like how to set up P&L, profitability, whatever, right? But it doesn't matter. People attend, they see it, they nod and say, yeah, that's great. But it's the implementation. It's like, oh, we'll start that tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Well, that never comes. And so, Lindsay, what would you say to some of these dealers from your perspective, like that need to change and uh, culturally the way they think, how they do business, how customers are going to want to do business in the future? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones going to make the decision whether your business thrives or goes another direction. So,
I
what
mean,
would
a
you
perfect
share,
example,
please?
yeah, a perfect example for me when I first started in this industry, I started with an internship and I went into a small local shop and it was an older gentleman and he was getting ready to retire and that's who I learned from. So everything was pen, paper, old school file system. Um, and I was just getting very aggravated at the end of the day. It was just taking 10 times longer to do anything that needed to be done. So I'm this young one in here. I'm like, let's add in this, let's do that. And there was so much pushback. I eventually ended up taking over that showroom and being the lead designer there and running it, but um, he just didn't want to embrace that. He was towards the end of his career, and he was he was good with it. But then on another front, I went to another company a little bit after, and I actually went in there to start their construction restoration division. And I introduced them so much technology that streamlined things, and a huge, broad range of age group. There's a very large company. But once everyone started to realize that it's actually helping them, it might be annoying in the beginning watching the tutorials and learning how to do everything and how to put everything in. Once you get it down and once you do it, it cuts your work in half. So I think you really just have to show people how it works and put that education out there, and you'll get a lot more people to start to embrace it and want to, put it into their systems.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You've got to lean on some of the people who are closer to technology. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter age. It's those people who focus on that side of it. I'll just tell you a quick story, and we'll turn it over to AJ to wrap it up. But this will date me. Like when we decided to go with software that was going to design kitchens, it was called Autograph. This probably happened 30 years, I don't know, a long time ago, right? And so we rolled it out to our designers, and there was so much pushback. I could do it so much faster by hand. I could price it out. This. That's all I heard, and it was a monumental task to get people to change the way they were doing it. A year later, I would go to those designers and say, what do you think about going back to doing this stuff by hand? They're like, are you kidding me? I'm never doing that again. And so, yeah, there is some time invested and there's some frustration because it's new. Anytime you tackle something new, it's going to be like that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. You've just got to say, hey, on long term, this is going to be a lot better. So, AJ, anything you'd like to add?
I don't think anything profound, but if there's anything, I'll maybe throw this cliche in there, is challenge the status quo. I think as a business owner, you need to afford yourself the opportunity to explore, the hypotheticals of, what if we could do this better, or scrutinize every part of your business and find out, is there something that I'm doing that could be better? I think if you do that, we did that in 2020. We asked ourselves a very hypothetical question: can we bid remodeling jobs remotely? Can we bid it without ever seeing it in person? And we said, well, no, of course not. But then we started to think, well, okay, well, what's our objection to that? And well, this and but this, and we said, well, let's change our frame of mind with this. Like, can we actually get an estimate out the door? Like, could we use more allowances for specific things that we need to fine tune? Can there be a clause in our contract? Well, yeah, we can do all those things. And we went from a $2 million company in 2020 to a $3 million company, and we did $1 million worth of sales completely remotely.
Wow.
And from that point on forward, we realized that we took my best year selling was $4.5 million in sales to like just kitchen and bath projects, and we had a team of 26 people, and we have gone to a team of 18 people doing $8 million with one sales guy. So one sales guy from 4.5 to $8 million, just because we allowed ourselves to explore the hypothetical question: can we bid jobs remotely? So challenge the status quo. If it is what it is, then so be it, but allow yourself the opportunity to think through, can this be better?
I think that's a good way to think about it, because always when something new comes out, everybody on the team is looking like why it won't work, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want to stop it here. I want to stop it here. And then I was asked, okay, well, how can it work? Well, I'm not here to figure that out. I'm like, yeah, you are. You got to be part of the solution. So it is a change in the mindset. So anyway, we want to wrap this sucker up. We really appreciate you checking out the podcast today. We've got some future episodes coming. I want to thank our special guest, Lindsay Seddon from Seddon Design. You can see her out at KABS this year for the 30 Under 30. So thank you so much for joining us, Lindsay. Thank you
for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I love to see her energy and her focus. I mean, she's really getting after it. I enjoy working with people like her. And AJ Render, president, founder, CEO, secretary, out there measuring sales. No, he does a lot. I know. you ought to check out their website, and it's Render, R-E-N-D-R. You'll see it on there. But I really want to thank you for coming today too, and spending some time with us.
Definitely appreciate the invite and the opportunity to talk about technology in this industry. So thank you.
Yeah, it's new, right? So it seems like it. But anyway, well, thank you very much. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you at the next KABS Tech Talk. Take care now.